What is going on, y'all? Psych Perspectives, giofvcks here, and I just want to talk about a few things. So, my hometown, Flint, Michigan, as of July 15th, 2021, we are on our 37th murder. It's July. Now, keep in mind, a lot of people will be like, well, 37, that's not a lot of people. That's not a lot of murders. To me, any death, anybody losing their life is a problem, is an issue. But when you look at how small the population of the city of Flint is so small to the point, you barely, like I said, you barely got 100,000 people here, okay? Last I checked. But I'm gonna put information in the description box below on the accurate population size of the city of Flint. So, with that being said, when 37 people are murdered and the population is so small, it hits close to home. Oftentimes, when I check my Facebook page and I see somebody talking about somebody that passed, or was murdered or shot and killed, it's somebody I know. It's somebody I went to school with. It's one of my childhood friends. It's one of my friends' siblings or cousins. It's somebody you know, and it hits close to home. And it really hits how 6 degrees of separation. And the violence that plagues the city of Flint, Michigan is no different than the violence that plagues Chicago, the various boroughs in New York. It's sad. And if we're not going to address gun violence, if we are not going to address poverty, people living in poverty, going without, people suffering from mental illnesses that are undiagnosed, not to mention in the city of Flint, here we are 7 years later, still dealing with the ongoing water crisis. And when people are sitting up, 7 years ago, when they made the decision that we could be drinking the Flint water, knowing that there was contaminants, lead poisoning, PFAS, all kinds of pollution and contaminants in the water, and when we are now 7 years later, you have an entire generation of people who suffered, who were poisoned. And lead is a neurotoxin, and it was already discussed what lead could do to the brain. So you literally have a generation of people who have high aggression because of the lead poisoning. On top of the fact that people have a lot of cognitive delays and cognitive developments that are delayed permanently because of the lead poisoning. Then you look at how poverty plays a role in what's going on in the city of Flint and what's going on across the country, and honestly what's going on across the globe, across the world. So I just want to say, enough is enough, and we have to address the multiple elephants that's in the room. Our people are dying prematurely. I've been losing friends my whole life, people I know my whole life. I remember being 8th, 9th grade, we already was wearing rest in peace t-shirts, basically collecting rest in peace, RIP shirts, hats, and every time I turn around, it's RIP, candlelight visual. These are things that have become normalized in our communities. We're so used to losing people, and people are being killed 15, 16, 18, 20, 22, 25, 29, young. Predominantly African American, Black, Hispanic, Latino, people of color, lower income, working class, working poor, inner city, Flint. And the sad part is, because Flint is so small, not only does it hurt because you probably know the person that was killed, but it hurts because you also probably know the person who did the murder, who did the killing. And because we have this code of snitches get stitches, there's very few do you ever get any real justice. And people be knowing who doing the shooting and killing. People be knowing who's doing the robbing and stealing. And people be knowing who doing the drugs and selling the drugs and got the drugs in the community. People be knowing what's up. Now, I'm going to say this. You know, realistically, I can't judge. I can't cast no stones, right? Because I have my own sins. I've messed up. I've done wrong. But when you sit up here and you see what's out here, people literally lacing stuff with fentanyl. People are dying from drug overdoses. It's just so much that I be thinking about. And it's like, you know, as much as people want to sit up and scream Black Lives Matter, and don't get me wrong, I say Black Lives Matter. I do. I believe that. I'm for that. But I'm going to keep saying it. Black lives have to matter to black people. Okay? You can't just be sitting up here screaming shit and making stuff into a hashtag or a slogan. But then when it comes to our own community and people are being shot and killed, murdered and slaughtered, ain't nobody saying nothing. Only time you want to bring awareness to something is when a white person or a police officer does something. And let's really be honest, when a police officer or a white person kills a black man, because let's be real, when it comes to black women, when it comes to LGBTQ+, when it comes to trans people, y'all don't give a damn. And when it's black people killing black people, y'all don't really care as much. Or we don't get the press. We don't get the media attention. Ain't no marches and protests and rallies for that. Very few in between. Now, don't get me wrong. Are there people out here who are spreading awareness about what's going on in the community? Marching, rallying, calling an end to gun violence, calling an end to the violence that's in our communities? Yes. There's community members, there's organizations, there's grassroots activists. Yes. People have always been on the ground, bringing awareness, spreading awareness, calling it into the violence. You know, we have all these programs. Like, people have started, volunteer programs, youth programs to get the youth out the streets and put them in something that's safe and productive for them. But y'all, it's so sad. Like, it's beyond sad. Like, this is what's happening. And it's like, you don't know what's going to happen from day to day. This is the second year ongoing global pandemic with the COVID-19. We already in the city of Flint are dealing with poverty, crime, environmental racism, pollution, lead poison, water crisis, people not being able to find housing, people are suffering from homelessness. So many things is going on. Now, in the midst of it all, 37 murders in a city, like I said, that barely has 100,000 people in the city limits. So when you got 37 murders and it's just now the middle of July, half the year has passed and you already did, it's a lot. And this is just in the city of Flint. Now think about all the other cities and communities and neighborhoods around the country, around the world dealing with this. Something has got to give, y'all. We have to do more for ourselves, for each other, for our communities, for our families, for the children, for the youth. Enough is enough.